Hello and welcome back to my October/November food favourites. I mentioned in my last food favourites video that I probably wouldn't do a dedicated one for October because the month has been really busy and everything I've eaten and read and done has basically blurred into a big mass and nothing really stood out because I was so busy. So I've got some food favourites from the month of November with a couple of things that were also favourites in October, the few that did stand out but didn't really warrant their own video. So I'm going to start with my dish of the month, which is chorizo in red wine. There's a picture of it here. I like the version which is in the August 2009 issue of Delicious magazine, but I appreciate that not everyone may have this issue and the recipe actually isn't online. Most recipes which are available online are really variations on this theme, and basically what all of them have in common is that they involve braising chunks of chorizo sausage, the cooking sausages, in red wine until the chorizo is really soft and imbued with the fruity flavours of the red wine that you use. And this recipe in Delicious also uses red wine vinegar, and I've seen some online which use honey, which I sometimes do as well, just a touch of honey, and that makes it really sweet and lovely. And chorizo is one of my absolute favourite foods anyway because it's so spicy and garlicky and delicious. And I find most people, with the exception of vegetarians or people who don't eat pork, really love chorizo. And chorizo in red wine, which I served a couple of times to friends in October, is a real crowd-pleasing dish. And it's quite likely that you have crowds over during the festive season, so I thought it was a good time to mention that. That's chorizo in red wine, and there are lots and lots of recipes for that online. My next food favourite is easy peelers, the little citrus fruits which are usually clementines, sometimes tangerines or mandarins, and they're usually sold as easy peelers, as per this packet here. And I really like them because they're really fresh, they've got a bit of sweetness, but also they're quite tart, so they're very refreshing, and they're full of vitamin C, which is really, really good at this time of year when you're trying to stave off illnesses and the like. What I also really enjoy about these general easy peeler citrus fruits is that they are a contrast to the often quite rich food that you eat in winter, and sometimes the richness of all the food that you eat can be quite cloying, especially if you eat a lot of meat. So this is something that really cuts through and is nice to have as a snack or after dinner. The easy peelers that I particularly like are the ones from Waitrose in this packet, or the ones from Sainsbury's, which are the Taste the Difference easy peelers, which come in a pack or in a large 1 kilo box. The reason I find these two particularly good is that the flesh of the fruit is quite dense and juicy, and what I like especially is that they're a little bit sharp. They're not uniformly sweet like a lot of these easy peelers are. They can be quite sweet, but these have a bit of tartness which makes them really refreshing, and just not too sweet, which I quite like in fruit. I really like grapefruit and putting lemon juice in lots of things, so I like that hit of sharpness. And I think a sign of a really good easy peeler type fruit is that the skin is quite tight and firm and not hanging loosely on the fruit, and I find that these really deliver that. They're very fresh, they're very tart, and they taste delicious. My next food favourite is a cut of beef, and that is beef shin, which you can see right here. Beef shin is quite a cheap cut. It comes from the leg of the animal, as the name would suggest. It's often sold with the bone tunneled through it, as this is. You can see the bone here, and there's a little piece here with some of the bone running through it. This particular cut of beef needs long, slow cooking, and it's absolutely threaded through. You can see it's threaded through with a lot of connective tissue. And this is particularly suitable for slow cooking and making casseroles because this connective tissue dissolves as you cook it. It dissolves in the liquid, and that dissolving makes the liquid very thick and rich and gelatinous, but it also means that the meat itself becomes very, very tender, and it shreds at just the touch of a fork, and it just melts off the bone, and the gravy becomes very rich. And if you add in the bone when you're cooking it in the stew, and obviously you fish the bone out at the end, the marrow from the bone just infuses the gravy or the sauce of the stew that you're making, and makes it really rich and very hearty and meaty. And the result is just an incredibly comforting, warming dish, really lovely stew, and I think it's just delicious. I get my beef shin from Waitrose, specifically from Waitrose's with a meat counter. I haven't seen beef shin sold like this in any other supermarket, and it's possible you can get it from a local butcher's if you have a good butcher's near you. It may be that some of the beef which is sold as casserole or braising beef is also shin, but if you definitely want to get hold of shin, you'd have to seek it out specially. So this is from a Waitrose meat counter, but I don't actually ever see it in Waitrose in normal packs of meat where they don't have a special counter. So it is something you might need to look for, but it is quite a good value cut of beef, I think, as well, and it's just delicious, and it makes beautiful, beautiful stews and casseroles, and we do tend to eat a lot of those at this time of year, so I think it's worth seeking out. That is beef shin. My next favourite is a Sainsbury's pudding wine or dessert wine, and this is the Muscat de Saint-Jean de Minervois, and it's actually under an appellation d'origine protégée. This wine was very, very kindly given to me by some colleagues for my birthday in September. It was really, really sweet of them. I didn't actually end up drinking it until late-ish in October because I shared it with a friend who came round, and I really, really love Muscat wine. I really, really love dessert wine, pudding wine, and this one was very, very delicious, very, very sweet, obviously, very honeyed and rich, and it feels quite thick, so it does coat the mouth. So if none of that sounds good to you, it might not be the wine for you. If you like very dry or off-dry wines, and you like them to be very light and crisp, you may not enjoy this, but if you like something sticky and sweet at the end of a meal, I really enjoyed this. That's the Muscat de Saint-Jean de Minervois from Sainsbury's. It's from their winemaker selection, you can see on the label. So that was a really lovely gift from my colleagues, and highly recommended. I thought I'd mention another alcoholic beverage that I enjoy. It isn't specifically a favourite from October or November, but I thought I'd mention it because I really associate this this drink with Christmas, because I tend to get it only around December, and it's really nice for parties. So I thought that it would be an appropriate time to mention it here while there's still time to actually drink it in Christmas, rather than being at a December favourites when it would be too late. But this is the Jacob's Creek Sparkling Shiraz, and I can imagine a nation of serious wine lovers just collapsing at the idea of this sparkling Shiraz. So it's a red wine, which is bubbly, which is quite unusual because usually we drink white wines, sparkling, so Proseccos and Cavas and so on. But I really enjoy it. It is referred to as dry, but I find it sweet enough, probably because it has quite rich fruity flavours, and I haven't yet had it this year, but I really enjoy it every time. I always get the Jacob's Creek one. I don't really see many other sparkling Shirazes, but it's a little bit different. It seems to go down really well when I serve it as at parties, and I haven't seen it every year, so when I saw it I just snapped it up. And I think Shirazes are often considered quite a heavy red. I don't know that much about wine, but apparently that is the case. But this, in previous years that I've had it anyway, is not heavy at all. The carbonation makes it really refreshing, and although it is rich, that's quite nice actually. So that is Jacob's Creek Sparkling Shiraz, and probably marks me out as a non-serious wine drinker. My next food favourite is something that you can't actually buy in the UK, and it is Candico Canderstroop, which my mother brought me when she came to visit me from Belgium, which is where she lives and which is where I'm from. And this is a Belgian syrup which comes in a dark and a lighter version. So this is the The dark version says here donker or foncé, and the light one is called, I think, doux or soft. And this is a traditional product with a rich dark caramel flavour. It is known as an official, what we call in Belgium, an official streekproduct, which means local product or regional product, and so it has to actually meet strict guidelines to be able to use this name. In Belgium, this syrup is often used on pancakes, but I've been using it to top my porridge in the mornings. It's really nice. Some cut up bananas and a bit of this syrup really sweetens it. I'm not someone who really loves porridge, so it's really nice to have something sweet with it. It helps it go down for me. And apparently this syrup has been used in Belgian brewing, which is really interesting. And one thing I found out when I was just looking up this product was that Antwerp was once the largest sugar processing centre in the world, and Candico, which is the company that makes this syrup, and it also makes cassonade sugars and so on, is actually still based there. With Siroop, this name, I suppose Gandar would translate to as candy, but Gandar sugar, as we call it in Belgium, is very dark, rich sugar, a bit like a muscovado sugar, I suppose. Anyway, this syrup is a byproduct of producing it. It's really nice. It's got a very, as I said, it's sort of caramelly edge, and it's not super sweet. And the soft version, the lighter brown version, has a slightly bitter toffee-ish edge. So it's really nice, and it's maybe something you can seek out if you're are visiting Belgium anytime soon. That is Gandar Siroop, and it's from the company Candico. So that's it for my October/November food favourites, and I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.